Hey, it's Vance, your fiscal ranger, and we're going to talk a little bit about zoning issues, and I've got an example for you. So if you're living in a rural area in Lake County, and maybe you're on a 1 acre lot or you're a 5 acre lot, and I'm going to explain to you what's going on all over the county, and this is from Claremont. So that you can see what's going on, and the roller coaster of progress may roll over you. So just watch. Alright, so we're going to look at an example from the city of Claremont. They have a developer who is requesting that, I got my official pointer here, this outline in yellow, that's 24 acres. That's on Johns Lake Road in Claremont. And you can see that it's all one owner farm. The documentation explained that it was for growing citrus, and now not a lot. And the owner apparently selling out to a developer who is requesting that the city rezone it. Now some of this area, and I'm going to scroll the screen here through the magic of Windows 10. There's the same area, but it shows that a lot of it is zoned as Lake County Urban Low. In other words, if we were to go back there, and I'll go back there in a minute, you'll see that a lot of them are like predominantly 5 acre lots. Okay, so if we zoom in, like those three areas right there, I'm estimating that they're all about 5 acres each. Not quite sure, but believe so without going to the experts and asking some questions. So if you see, some of them have been split, like that one. Looks like it was 5 acres, and then they took and spun out 2 of them for about 1 acre each, and then they got a 3 acre section left. And so the county pretty much had, in the rural areas, they had zoning that could be maybe 5 acre lots, 1 house per 5 acres, and then maybe they had some that were 2 or 3 acres and 1 house per acre. I'm not certain about all the rules, but you can see these are good examples. And this is county land that's being annexed in chunk by chunk by the city of Claremont. And when they annex in, it's because the developer wants to build something like that. Or this is Kings Ridge, the retirement community down here. And look at that, how packed those units are. If you were to look at, this is the width here of, I'm estimating 1 acre, and if you go down there and look, then that has about, what, 6, maybe 7 units per acre. Now they also have a golf course in there and everything else, so the average unit per acre may be higher, maybe 4 or 6, but because they're offsetting with all this vacant land. Now some developments do that, but then you look at like this one here, there's hardly any open land. It appears that maybe there's something there, and it appears there's something there, and it could be just to store RVs, but that's pretty packed. Here's one here that you can see it's all packed in, and there's not like a park or anything. Some planning areas on big developments, they'll mandate that a certain percent be open land, but these surely aren't it. And there's another one. See, it's just stacked, and well, it's not stacked because it's single story units, but you can see how packed they are. Alright, so this one here, the text says it's 24, a little over 24 acres. And as you can see, the surrounding neighbors, they're on approximately 5 acre lots, or maybe the 5 acres is divided in half, and so it's 2.5 acres approximately. I could be off, maybe these are 4 acre lots, I don't know. But the example still is the same. So we have 24 acres there. They are changing this from 3 units per acre, which is considered city low density, to a city medium density, which allows up to 8 units per acre. The developer says they want to put 96 units in there, and that equals 4 units per acre. And they probably aren't going to have any open land. Now let's look at this and say you're living in a Lake County rural area. You're on a 5-acre lot. You've got your dream home there, and you bought, and you think you're safe. So, like these people here, they thought they were among all 5-acre lots. But now look, they're going to put a 96 unit, 4 unit per acre development in there, which is going to be about, I'm estimating it looks like about that, because if you look at 4 of these, they are about what appears to be a 1-acre coverage. So they can come in the city, and when they do a development above a certain size, they can't put septic tanks or wells in anymore, which is the old way. And so instead they have to be annexed into the city so they can get water and sewer lines to all those units. Now, the question is that most cities, what they do is the developer says he just wants the water and sewer. That's why he asks for annexation. But I've been told that a city doesn't have to annex them in, but that means if they annex them in, they convert from county to city, and the city gets the taxes. And so if they say it's mandatory, the developer goes ahead and does it, but they don't have to annex them in. They could leave it rural. They could get the water and sewer, and they could put the low-density property in here. But usually they require that the developer has to pay the cost of running the pipelines in for the sewer and water. And that's expensive, and that's what drives having a higher density, is they have to sell more units at a higher price to recapture the cost of connecting to or running lines to these. Now there's some areas in Tavares where they're maybe a mile outside of Tavares, but they want to be annexed in because the county won't let them develop high density areas like that without being connected to the city sewer and water. And so as a consequence, developers facing $1 million or more to pay to run lines like down a street like this one. Now lines may already be there. I'm thinking they might be there because this place is here. They probably already at some point put the lines in. So all this unit has to do is connect to the lines that are right there, I'm guessing. And we're just talking conceptual issues here. So if you're in a rural area that is Lake County, this is what can happen is a developer could come in, and like here, that looks like it's about 3 5-unit, 5-acre lots that were combined. Could have been originally one owner, or it could have been that they hired a realtor that goes in and he makes offers to people until he can find and buy up enough land to build a larger development like this. And so that's what's driving this, quote, progress. So there's some issues here. One is, if you are living in a rural area like this and you all of a sudden see orange signs on any property along here near you, you read the details and you go online to the city website and you look at the details to see what they plan on doing, because they bumped up the density here. It was 3 units per acre, and now they're going, it can be up to 8 units per acre. The developer said that he's going to do 96 units per acre or 4 units per acre, but he's allowed to go to 8. So after he gets all the approvals, he could sell this land to someone else. They come back in and they want to put in 8 units per acre. And that's what's driving a lot of this angst among people that are living in rural Lake County. is development issues like this. So now here's another thing is they're next to Windy Lost Lake Elementary School. Now you notice here there's some sort of a lake or retention pond down here, and it looks like this may be one owner land down here. Not quite sure what that is, but these guys here, what if they have open access to get on that land? The kids want to cut through and go to the school there. All these things come up, and that's why neighbors also need to go, is that maybe you own this land here. Hopefully the city did notify you, because they're supposed to notify people that are on adjacent land to the proposed development. And that's one of the problems, is they may notify just the people that are right next to it, like maybe 3 houses there, and the ones on the borders of this unit, but they don't tell the others. And then those people find out at the last minute. They show up at the meeting and they're angry because they're concerned about traffic on the road. They're concerned about other things. If I was an owner of this land here or down there, or even in Kings Ridge, I'd want to make sure that built into the approval was a condition. And that's something that the neighbors can negotiate for or demand, is that there be conditions that are added to the development plans that are approved by the city to set in some conditions, like, one, put a wall all the way around it so that this isn't open and people from that area are going into the golf course there. There may be a wall there already, I don't know. That they can't create a cut through here so that the kids can sneak through the back way into the Lost Lake Elementary School. Another issue comes up is that developments around them could be all 55 plus communities, and the new one is not, which means there are going to be a lot of kids, maybe more traffic, and I've seen arguments about that. So there are a lot of issues related to when somebody near you is going through a rezoning application. And the terms are very confusing. There's all sorts of different terms that the planners understand, the developers understand, but even after trying to focus on planning and zoning for 3 years, I still don't understand all the different terms and the implications. But once you start seeing those orange notices with and it'll say there's now going to be planning and zoning meeting because the developers the owner of the land is proposing that the zoning be changed from, in this case, this one house on 24 acres, and it was agriculture use, it was orchards or whatever. They're changing it to build in all these homes. That can impact you. That can impact these people right here. It can impact these people here. It can impact these people here. And there probably isn't going to be any excess noise from those. We've seen issues, though, where land, instead of being for homes, and again in the rural area, and isn't really involved with the city, but the owner of a land area, like it could be just this chunk here, or even this one in yellow, they want to convert the use from agriculture only to having a gun range, and that's happened in North Lake County. They want to put in a mud racing pit for mud races on the weekends with all the noise. They want to put in a dog kennel with all the dogs yapping. There's all sorts of things that can cause noise, and so then you have to have mitigation. If you have neighbors who don't respond, don't show up, don't ask for conditions to be implemented, such as a buffer between, say, their border and the neighbor who is planning on something that's going to generate a lot of noise, like he's going to have a trucking yard there for freight because it's commercial. they've got to respond to those. Now, there's been enough aggravation I've seen at different zoning locations that in different cities and the county, because their notification process is to put up these signs, which are really cheap, flimsy cardboard that once it rains they fold over and you can't even see what they are. And most people drive by them and are not aware that they really, if it's near their place, they ought to stop and they got to read that so they know what's going on. Secondly, the neighbors need to get organized. They should have an existing Facebook page or set one up to share the information and act together, know where they're going. It may be even that it could be something that's going to cause a lot of generation of noise that could damage the value of the properties next to it and all around it. That's happened with a medical marijuana facility north of Eustis, where the agriculture operation that got state approval for medical marijuana growing and processing brought in huge air conditioners because they had to keep the Quonset huts or the facilities cooler than the outside air, and the noise goes. Neighbors can hear it for up to a half mile or mile away, and the neighbors right next door, like let's say in that instance there was a guy right next door to where this medical facility was. There was just this constant loud drone 24 hours 7 of these air conditioning units, and they're huge industrial units, and so that's another one. Or another issue is the agriculture operation in let's see, they're also north of Eustis, and they were going to create a dormitory for 200 H-2A migrant workers. They're not actually migrants, they're approved seasonal workers that come in and live in a dormitory, and it could be up to 200 of them. And so imagine all of a sudden you're one of these neighbors, as it is the real case up there, and the guy here is putting in a dormitory for 200 agriculture workers. And first it's 2 stories, so it kind of it impacts your view of certain things. Like maybe you're used to looking out and seeing trees and so forth, and all of a sudden now you're going to have this barn-like structure that's a dormitory. You could have 200 of these guys on their free time out there playing soccer and yelling and making noise. You could have them right across your fence and you've got kids and you're worried about that. And that's a real case that's going on right now. This is June 9th, 2019. So, and then another thing is that maybe this road here, Johns Lake Road, is already overcrowded, and the city annexes property on both sides. Now that isn't city because that's a county school, but they start collecting taxes. The county then is not getting land tax or agriculture tax. They don't want to fix the roads or make them wider or put in turn lanes and other things, and the city doesn't want to do it either, and so the traffic is going to be worse. Now, it's my personal view from being at a number of these meetings is that the developers are required to do a traffic study, and so they may do a traffic study and say, well, this unit here with 96 units is going to generate, say, 1,000 trips of cars going in and out every day. Whatever they have algorithms, they have formulas for it. And they know just based upon the number of units, and whether they're 1 bedroom or 3 bedroom, and how many cars that they're probably going to have, and how many kids they're going to have. And the same thing for schools. The schools will calculate whether they're going to have room for all the kids that are going to be added through a development like this. And so you're worried about your kids are about ready to go to this school over here, and it's at capacity. So what's going to happen then? And then the traffic plans will it hold the roads? What I've seen is a traffic engineer comes in, he says, we did a study and we said there isn't any problem. It adds 1,000 trips on a road like this one, which is like a collector road, Johns Lake Road, pretty big road. But I don't know because I don't live down in Claremont, but I'm thinking it's just one lane each way. I don't know if maybe it's 2 lanes each way. But the traffic engineer will say there's no problem. But yet it came up at one city council meeting at Tavares. One of the city councilors asked, he says, does that measure the impact on how much traffic is delayed at intersections, like with a traffic light or getting in and out? Because with all those extra trips, maybe then there's a traffic light down on that end, or there's one down here. And does that mean, like is happening, true case, on Dead River Road in Tavares, people are waiting 3 to 5 traffic lights before they can get out of their entire area to get onto US Highway 19. And it's one of the only 2 exits that they have for the entire neighborhood. And it's that backed up because the city won't pay any money to fix the roads, to make them wider, to add turn lanes at the intersections, etc. And the county won't do anything either because they claim they don't have any money. Now, background on the county issue is that the county, that's called expanding the roads because of growth. So if you add growth, which is new neighborhoods like here and there, it's going to increase the number of trips, and so they have impact fees that they put on new construction, which would be when they built these here or when they build here, and they're going to build that, and the impact fee is based upon a study that's required by the state every 3 years that calculates what the new volume of traffic is going to be, and then how big the road should be, the traffic lights and everything else, and then the cost that they have to, the tax that they have to put on the new property, an impact fee for when you build it, to pay for expanding the existing infrastructure to meet the traffic needs of those areas. And what happens is builders get after the county commissioners, and I believe the same happens with the cities because they have impact fees too. But I see it at the county level because I've gone to their board meetings for years, is that they reduce the impact fee that the professional calculation shows you got to have an impact fee of it's $2,000 per unit to be able to fund expanding the roads here and the traffic lights and turn signals and turnouts, and that includes having to buy right away, because if this is only 1 lane each way and now you need 2 lanes each way, you have to pay for that. And in my opinion, it's bad planning. They should have made roads all have enough right away that you don't have to go buy it from all these landowners. But so then they the county reduces the impact fees. Well, right now in South County, because they do have such a bigger demand from growth, that the folks down here did push the county to create districts for different levels of impact fees, and they pay a higher impact fee in South County so they can generate the money to build the roads to handle all the capacity. And that's because the cities want to grow and the developers are down here, and it's growing a lot faster than North Lake County. And then you have the Leesburg area. There are builders there and these are local builders, the smaller builders, not the national builders. And they don't want to pay the impact fee because they say, well, that increases the cost that we have to charge for a house. And so they lobby and they get that impact fee reduced. So what that does is it's like having a credit card that keeps putting off what the true required cost to develop the infrastructure to handle all the traffic of the development, and it doesn't get done. And then they pass the cost on to the point where then, at some point, then, oh, well, gee whiz, we don't have enough traffic signals, we don't have enough lanes on the roads. The public gets mad, they complain to the county board. They don't understand all this underlying stuff that's gone on. And so the county then uses it as an excuse to raise property taxes on everybody to pay for transportation costs. Okay, and that's the game that's going on. And so it's dangerous to buy property in Lake County without understanding that. Let's see, a couple other things, since I did mention taxes, is that people move here from the north or outside Lake County, and they move here and they don't understand the tax structure. They don't understand that Florida is a no income tax state. So to get things like money to build schools and everything else, they have to come up with other types of taxes. The taxes are still there, it's just not income tax. And so they have to have like higher property taxes. They have to have impact fees. They have to have a higher sales taxes. There could be special assessment taxes. A lot of different gimmicks go on. And so what happens is, let's say somebody from Pennsylvania comes down here and this is their dream area. They want to be out there in their dream home and build it on a 5-acre lot and live out there. And maybe, especially these guys here that, see, they got all these trees here. Now those could be fruit trees, I don't know. But they want to be out there where it's nice and quiet and no pollution and so forth. And they build there, and then what happens is they didn't check to find out what the estimate would be of the taxes after they buy the property at the higher rates. And maybe they plan on building a house and they don't know that there's going to be impact fees, although they've been reduced from what they should be. There are impact fees to pay for the schools, and that's a high one that no one gets out of, and other things. And then maybe they retire and they come here and they throw a lot of money and they pay cash to buy this place, and they know what their pension is and everything else, and they don't calculate what the costs are for the taxes on this property. And I've seen that up in the Villages area where people get, they buy into the Villages lifestyle, but they buy in the new areas that are growing into Lake County, which is in Fruitland Park and the Villages and Leesburg. And Lake County taxes, property taxes, and other taxes are higher than Sumter County, quite a bit. And these people get shocked because they get their bill. They didn't run any kind of calculation of what the sales tax would be, and the realtors, of course, never tell them how to do that. And so then they find that, like Lake County, we have a hospital tax in North Lake County, not down here in Claremont. They no longer have one. But North County, we have a hospital tax, and then we have the Lake County water tax that's a $500,000, and then we have hospital district taxes up in North Lake County, and so all these add to the tax burden, and then all of a sudden they find out that they're paying a lot more in taxes than they expected. I mean, I have a low-cost home, and I refinanced it and was able to get actually a 40-year loan, because by the 40th year I'm probably not going to be here. But my taxes, mostly on schools, so I'm not in a 55-plus community, and anyway, schools still have the taxes in those areas. They eat up probably now not two-thirds, at least 15 to 20% of my total tax bill are school taxes. Actually, I shouldn't say of the tax bill. At least 15-20% of my total mortgage payment is from taxes. because the value of the property that I bought was spread out over 40 years. All right, so I think that's enough. It gives you a good idea of what's going on and reasons to be really careful if you buy in rural Lake County areas. And then along comes a city, any of the cities, they're all expanding, and they want the taxes. They want your taxes so they can build better things for downtown. I mean, that's my, that's kind of my view. And so whether it's Claremont or it's Tavares or it's Mount Dora, Leesburg, the city leaders, a lot of them have grown up, they're local, they want to build stuff. They want to build new fancy docks, they want to do other things, and they're not retirees. So it's dangerous to be a retiree and to move to Lake County and think that your dream home on a 5-acre lot is going to stay that way. So there you go, that's the end of my little lesson. Courtesy of this great little image that was part of a planning and zoning package for a Claremont proposal. Alright, I'm going to add something to this discussion. I mostly talked about people that are in the risks of buying, county urban land, rural land, but let's look at the other way, is that to protect yourself from encroachment and all of a sudden a 4-story apartment building going in next door to you, which is a proposal that's in existence in Tavares right now, is to buy in a place that is all one development and you're in the middle of it. In other words, you're not right on the border because you could have a medical marijuana facility there with huge noisy machines. But instead get down in the middle somewhere in a development. And that kind of protects you, get in the middle of the development. And if you buy on the edge because you think, let's see, like this one here, and they're looking and saying, look at all that, we got this view of this greenery behind us. And then what happens is somebody comes in there and they build something else. Don't count on that being there, and it could be a 4-story apartment building. It could be 10 years from now, but then they're going to be looking in your backyard if you're on the edge. So that's the risk you take when you're on the edge. There's another example in Claremont where there's a lady that was in a development, let's see, all these are pretty high density, but let's say like this one here, and she was right on the side, and she was looking over some vacant land like here, like this situation. And then what happened is a charter school came in and was going to put a charter school with all the noisy kids on just a 5-acre lot, when the county usually plans on at least 20 acres to have room for soccer fields and all sorts of things. And so she got all involved. That's Danny Page, and now she's running a website monitoring Claremont's zoning issues, and it's called Inside Claremont or something like that. But that was another issue, is that she had it and had agriculture land next door, and then boom, all of a sudden somebody comes in. In that case, they made a proposal. It was approved by the Claremont City Council to put a charter school on land that was surrounded by residential. And that would have generated a lot of traffic. It would have come out on their road right there. And it was a bad decision. Well, they ended up raising enough cane, and Danny filed some legal paperwork and found that the city had ignored their own planning or zoning rules, and the court said they could not put a charter school in the lot next to her. So she won that one. But something else could be, a commercial district, I don't know what, could be put in there. So that's something is you locate in the middle. If you buy something on the outside, you could have, anything go next door to you. You don't know what, because the developer can go in and he can request anything, and if the city council approves it, you're dead. So there's a lesson to learn. Is the big thing is, if you get rural land, like I said, you could have almost anything happen next to you. And unless you're organized with all the neighbors and you raise hell and show up at the county planning and zoning meetings, as well as the city county board meetings when the item is being discussed, and demand concessions and demand conditions, you're going to you could have a gun range next door, or you could have, like I say, a mud racing pit, dog kennels, you could have and all this has happened in the time I've been watching here in the county. So the only safe thing is find a big development that is a development, maybe even a gated community, and then you get a lot in the middle. Or if it's on the water, you get on the water. But now here's another one is, let's say that this was all developed and you are in there and you have land on the water. Then there's a Lake Saunders that's in between Mount Dora and Tavares, and people are on the lake. Most of them are single family homes around most of the lake, but on the southern end it borders old Highway 441, and it's commercial. And so developers gone in, and because of the issue of getting sewer lines and water lines and the expense of doing that, he's proposed 4-story apartment buildings, 5 of them, on, it looks like it was about a 5-acre lot. It's about that size of one of those. And the neighbors have just come unglued, because it's mostly either single-story commercial next to it, or maybe mobile home parks fairly close, or all the homes that are around the border of the lake. And it would add, I don't know, it's a couple thousand car trips on the highway, and it would also generate a lot of people, that are renters, and they probably only have a canoe or something, but they're all going to want to go out on that lake and fish and do things, and people just keep unglued. And so that is going on right now. There's still that issue being discussed in the city of Tavares. So there's my rule. The safest thing is buy in the middle of a developed community. And that community could be, okay, now that triggered another thought. So let's say that you bought in the middle of Deer Island. And Deer Island was originally sold with, 1 acre, 5-acre lots. And a lot of them are on shores of a lake. And that Deer Island is just south of Mount Dora. It's on Lake Dora. Yeah. And so those people bought in there. Well, then they couldn't sell all the internal lots. The equivalent of selling the lots around the edge because they're on a lake, but the internal lots they couldn't sell at the prices they were asking. And they've gone through like about 2 or 3 owners. So the last owner, what they did is that they rezoned all the internal lots from like 1 or 5 acres to like about 4 per acre. So now you got these little townhomes with adjoining walls, and they're across the street from $1 million homes that are on the water. And so that's a danger even there. So it's dangerous to buy land in Lake County or any growing area. You're almost better buying an existing property that's within a developed community like here, and they're just risks. I mean, I've even seen skilled, experienced developers from other states like California and Arizona in one case. And he moved here, he researched it, they went to all sorts of homes for their dream retirement home. And they got it. And it's down near Deer Island, and it's on the water, Lake Dora. And then a proposal came in to put in 4-unit per acre lots right across the street from them. That's the equivalent of these. across from, he's like, I think about 2.5 acres. And it would generate a lot of traffic, and there's only one collector road that everybody uses to get out. It's kind of like Dead River Road, but it's called Shirley Shores Road. And so it dramatically increased the traffic, and dramatically increased the number of people in the community. And you know, if you bought a 5-acre water lot, you don't really want to maybe be in a neighborhood that has 4 houses per acre. It just doesn't mix. I mean, people work for it. I've been around them. I've worked for them. They work for it. They've earned the money. They want to have a nice retirement home. And so that's another issue, is that something like could happen. So in this case, it was the land across the street from him and down around the road that he was on, putting in high density property. And they ended up, all the neighbors though, got together. They fought the developer and the city of Tavares, and they were able to get a lot of conditions in that reduced the number of driveways on the road. Because one of the things that developer was doing is he had something equivalent to this, but then rather than have the one internal road in that everybody that lived in that community drove on and had one exit, instead he didn't want to go to the expense of putting that internal road in, so he put in driveways on each one of these lots in his plan going out to that main road. That would completely disrupt traffic and be a lot more dangerous. And that was one of the things that they were doing, and the city was going to let it happen. So that's why the neighbors have to get organized. You got to get organized. You should have something in beforehand, a neighborhood group on Facebook to get the word out. Because if you see one of those orange zoning change notices go up, you only have maybe 10 days to get organized before the first meeting. And the faster you get there and learn and just be prepared. And that's it.